Hey everybody, and welcome back to our Foster Library YouTube channel. I'm going to do an unboxing of November's books that are about to be on the shelves tomorrow if I am not lazy in putting them out. Let's just dive right into it. Let's get started. First up we have The Red Palace. This one is a historical fiction mystery thriller set in Korea in 1758. Our main character is just this kick-butt female, and she is basically just trying to do her own thing, keeping her head down, but then 4 women in her town get murdered in the same night, and her mentor is accused of that murder. So she's got to try to basically clear his name. It is nuts. There's a little bit of romance, a lot of action, a lot of mystery, which you don't usually see from historical fiction, so we're glad to see it. The Red Palace. Next up we've got Valiant Ladies, which is historical fiction, but it's based on real Latinx teenagers in the 17th century, called The Valiant Ladies of Potosi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's basically action-packed investigation to expose corruption in their government, set in 17th century world. Very exciting. I think there's a little bit of LGBTQ action in there as well, which we love to see, and definitely, as we love for most of our books here at Foster, a little bit of romance. Okay, next up we have a fantasy, Daughters of the Moon Goddess. Daughter of the Moon Goddess was one of my favorite reads this summer. I checked it out over the summer. Very similar vibes to The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. It's based on this Chinese folklore, and it's about this girl whose mom is this moon goddess, and she lives up in the clouds with her mom, but she doesn't realize that she no one else knows that the moon goddess has a daughter, and then they find out, and she has to run away from home and never see her mom again to try to save her mom from being punished for hiding the fact that she had a daughter. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of time changes throughout. It starts when she's younger. It goes into her teenage years. There's a little bit of an enemies to lovers romance. This is a great fantasy for those that love a high fantasy. Definitely in that strand of books right now that are based on different Asian folklore. This is a great one for that. Ooh. Next up, another fantasy but more realistic fantasy, Blood Like Fate. This is a sequel to Blood Like Magic, which came out I think 2 years ago. It was one of my favorites. It's about a girl who's basically deciding between the boy she loves and her magical fate. She can't keep her powers unless she betrays the boy that she loves. It's nuts. It's all about the importance of family and tradition, and also making really tough choices. Blood Like Fate is the sequel in this series. Check it out. Okay, this is one of my favorite fantasies of last year. I loved it so much that I immediately pre-ordered the sequel. These Hollow Vows was amazing. Amazing. In the way that love triangle romances are always cringy, but also just so good. These Hollow Vows is about basically this girl who she gets into this magical realm to try to save her sister. She sacrifices herself for her sister, kind of like Katniss in the Hunger Games. But she meets up with this evil prince there. They're not supposed to be together. They're supposed to be enemies, but of course they start falling in love. But then her childhood crush turns out to be the prince of a neighboring empire that she didn't know about the whole time. He was lying to her and pretending to be human. Guys, it's nuts. It's so good. These Hollow Vows, I highly suggest it. Check it out today. Okay, we're heading into thrillers. This one, Gallant. V.E. Schwab writes these very heady, very thought-provoking fantasy thrillers a lot of the times, and this is definitely did not disappoint, did not fall far from the tree. Gallant is this creepy gothic haunted house horror story with this decrepit old house that this girl is inheriting, and the people who live there are don't really want her to be there. They're trying to keep her away, and she realizes it's because there's an alternative Coraline style version of the home in another world that's haunted with monsters. It's nuts. It's definitely creepy crawly bumps in the night sort of vibes. Check out Gallant. Next up, another thriller, The Last Laugh. This is the sequel to The Initial Insult. it's basically like the second book is figuring out what actually happened. The first book is like about this girl, and she's trying to find out what happened to her parents that disappeared like 10 years earlier. So she kidnaps her like ex-best friend, because her ex-best friend was the last person to see her parents alive. So she kidnaps her ex-best friend and is like, I'm gonna kill you unless you tell me what happened to my parents. And so she like tortures her in a basement until she like tells her. And so this is like the sequel. The first one ends on a serious cliffhanger, so you haven't checked it out yet, you should, because now we have the second one. You don't have to wait like I did. I had to wait like 6 months to figure out what happened to her parents and what happened to her. The ending, you don't even see it coming. It is so good. And I'm like, usually like, I'm watching Criminal Minds all the time. I know how these things go. I did not see this one coming. So check out The Last Laugh. Okay, next one is a graphic novel. This one is Alicia Keys' Girl on Fire. It's like based on like her song, This Girl is on Fire, or whatever. I'll add the audio in. But Alicia Keys wrote this graphic novel. It is action-packed. It's like a superhero story about a girl who's like kind of like an underdog and finds her powers and saves the day. Who doesn't love that? Check out Girl on Fire, the graphic novel. Okay, this next one is a realistic fiction that is sure to like be a hit this year. This one is I Kissed Shara Wheeler. Sorry about that. I Kissed Shara Wheeler. This one is basically about this girl who's like top of her class, does all her work, gets great grades, and she wants to be a valedictorian, but the only person that she's competing against is like prom queen, smarty pants, like teacher's pet, Shara. And so like basically 1 month before graduation, before they're figuring out like who's going to be valedictorian, Chloe, our main character, and Shara, they kiss. And then Shara like just dips and like leaves and goes like, not like missing, but like leaves, and like leaves all these like cryptic clues behind. And so like Chloe's trying to like uncover where Shara went, but obviously like she finds out that like Shara isn't who she says he was, and like leaves like behind like other people that Shara just like made out with and like didn't tell where she was going. So like Chloe now has to like befriend all these people who like also made out with the girl that she made out with to like figure out what happened to her. It's chaos, it's romance, it's some LGBTQ. Definitely check out this great realistic fiction. It's not a thriller. I know it sounds like it might be a thriller because she went missing. It's not. It's mostly romance. It's so fun. It's from the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, which was like one of my favorite romances of the summer. So definitely check this one out today. This next one is the sequel to Clowns in a Cornfield. This is Clown in a Cornfield 2, Friendo Lives. Ugh. So that cover alone, terrifying, just terrifying. If you're the kind of person who is scared of clowns, don't read these books. This is the second one in the series. We also have the first one. And the first one leaves you on a bit of a cliffhanger, but basically it's like this small town where a bunch of like rowdy teenagers, the town doesn't really like them. The rowdy teenagers thinks they should put them in their place. And guys, the adults start killing all the teens. It's nuts. It's a bloodbath. So if you're like the kind of person that's like, Miss Shea, where are your very gory books? Like, where is the books with all like the blood and the guts? I'm like, this is one of them. This is like my top one to give to people because it's nuts. There's some crossbow action. It's not great for people who are squeamish. So definitely check out Clown in a Cornfield 2, Friendo Lives, if you are brave enough. Okay, this next one is for people who love K-dramas. This one is called Flip the Script. It's about this girl named Hannah. She is cast on a new K-drama and she's like determined to make it in the industry. But then she starts falling for like her fake co-star boyfriend, who like is super cute and super great. But then like a new girl gets cast on the show as well, and so there's like some love triangle action. There's a little bit of romance, a little bit of drama, but all around just like super fun, super comforting, realistic drama. Very much like To All the Boys I Loved Before vibes to it. So definitely check out Flip the Script. Okay, this next one is for you Shadow and Bone fans out there. If you haven't watched the show on Netflix, please do. This one is part of the Grishaverse. It is a graphic novel based on like the world of Shadow and Bone. It's called Demon in the Wood, and it's like the prequel almost. So like before the Darkling was like the awful guy who like messed with the Fold and tried to gain power, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. But he was just like a random kid, like messed up, lonely, like a lot of us. So this is like the Darkling's origin story in graphic novel form. It looks so good. There's a little bit of romance, a lot of like dark, sinister stuff, but it gives us a little bit more of an insight into the Shadow and Bone universe. Okay, this next one is for fans of One of Us is Lying and like the thriller murder mystery vibe. This is called I Killed Zoe Spanos, and it's about this girl who shows up in this like Hamptons small town, and where a girl, Zoe, has gone missing. And our main character, Anna, she shows up, this girl's gone missing, and everyone's like weirded out by Anna because she kind of looks very similar to Zoe, and they have like a lot in common. So much so that like Anna gets obsessed and starts like investigating her murder. And because she's investigating her murder, when Zoe's body is found, they like find Anna like messing around and charge her like with murder for it. They're trying to like pin it on her. It's a murder mystery thriller with some drama, some like intrigue, and definitely for fans of like One of Us is Lying or any of like Good Girl's Guide to Murder, anything like that. You're gonna love this next kind of like new age thriller mystery. I Killed Zoe Spanos. All right, this next one is one of my favorite authors. She's the author of Shatter Me. Her new book, This Woven Kingdom, is sure to like be the next big thing this year, I swear. All of you guys have been checking out Shatter Me like crazy. You're definitely going to want to check out This Woven Kingdom. It's based on a Persian mythology, and it's basically like clashing empires, forbidden romance, like a forgotten queen that's trying to like save her people. This is definitely like high fantasy, dramatic, big romances, big action scenes, all the things that this author is definitely known for. So check it out, This Woven Kingdom. Okay, this next one, I don't know much about it. All I know is I bought it for the covers. There's two in the series that we have so far, The Prison Healer and The Gilded Cage. Basically what I know so far is it's about this like magical healer that works in a prison, and she's like just like a prison healer. She's like just works there, but what happens is like a rebel queen gets captured and put in prison, is supposed to stand trial, and it's like our main character's job to like keep her alive until she gets to trial. There's some mystery, there's some action, but it was all over Book Talk, so I just had to get it. The Prison Healer and The Gilded Cage. Okay, this next one is not an easy read for a lot of people. This one is called The Silence That Binds Us. It is about this girl named May. She is Chinese, Taiwanese American, and her mom puts a lot of pressure on her to be like valedictorian, get all these good grades, and dress a certain way and talk a certain way. And her mom just like doesn't seem to be really proud of her in general. But her older brother Danny is like the pride and joy of the family, does everything right. But then when Danny commits suicide, it kind of just like throws May for a loop and her whole family for a loop about like what seems to be the priorities. Like how does a family show love? How do we deal with grief? This is a very, very deep realistic fiction featuring like family, mental health, just a little bit of like what it's like in society for like Asian females in our country. It's a deep one. I don't recommend this for anybody that isn't willing to really just like dive in head first. But I do think that this one, it's I haven't read it yet, but it's been said to be like a really accurate and like thoughtful portrayal of what it feels like to be left behind by somebody who has committed suicide. I'm also going to add links to different sources below if you also are dealing with this or struggling with this or know somebody that is. So this is a great book, The Silence That Binds Us. Okay, this one next is a graphic novel, kind of like historical fiction. It's called 80 Days. It's about this pilot who all they want to do is really just fly, and they just like, that's their whole life goal, is just to be a pilot. But then they cross paths with this like kind of like feisty thief, sort of mysterious person, and basically they get like drawn into this like whole uncharted territory, wacky adventure. It's got like definitely like Indiana Jones vibes to it, and basically it's just like an adventure historical fiction kind of story. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of like friendship, like found family tropes in this one. Definitely check it out, 80 Days. Okay, this next one definitely is going to be one of my favorites. Mr. Pasquale was like, there's no books like historical fiction written about the 90s because nothing happened in the 90s. Well, bam, we've got a historical fiction about the 90s. It's like historical fiction, realistic fiction. It's just about 5 friends who go to this private school, and they're kind of like from different socioeconomic classes, but they all just become like 5 friends, kind of like Breakfast Club situation sort of thing. But like through this writing group, they all become friends, and they figure out like, what does it mean to like be teenagers in this time. It's definitely like Breakfast Club meets Dead Poet Society. Definitely check it out. It's called The Chandler Legacies. Okay, this next one, I didn't know whether to put it in historical fiction or sci-fi. I ended up putting it in sci-fi. You can find it there, but it's definitely a little bit of both. Skywatchers. This one is set in 1952 during like Cold War scare. Everyone's like worried about like the Soviet Union, not Cold War, Soviet Union scare, like invasion, yada yada yada. And so like the president, the governments are like, you guys gotta be our radar, be our eyes, like watch the skies, like, and basically this like high school is like, we're gonna have a club like called the Skywatchers, like Operation Skywatch. And so these kids, they definitely find something that they were not prepared for. This like object, mysterious object, lands in a field outside their school. They go to investigate, and then they disappear. So definitely check out Skywatchers for some like historical fiction, but mostly sci-fi, UFO stuff. This is definitely for people that are like, UFOs are definitely real. We've seen them. The government's just hiding it. Definitely check out Skywatchers. Okay, this next one is for fans of like The Selection and those like fantasy romances, but there's a little bit of twist in this one. This one is Castles in Their Bones. It's about 3 sisters who have been raised since birth to be these like beautiful, eloquent princesses, and their whole job, or so it seems from the outside, is to go marry princes from other homelands and like help relations between their countries. But what these people don't know, these princes don't know, is that these girls have actually been trained like as undercover operatives. Their job is just to basically seduce the princes and overthrow the monarchies. It's a little bit nuts. It's awesome. There's a lot of action, a lot of romance, a lot of like forbidden love in this high fantasy novel, Castles in Their Bones. Check it out today. Next one is one that I read over the summer, a thriller, definitely one of my favorites, A Night to Die For, about this kid, Mario. He just wants like a regular night at prom. He didn't even want to go, but he asked this one girl, Mirabelle, to the prom because like, why not? But when the prom queen ends up going missing and then end up like found in a ditch, and Mario and his date pull over and find her body there, they are now like basically like suspects in her murder. A Night to Die For, super mysterious, an ending you didn't see coming. So good. It's like basically like One of Us is Lying meets Carrie. Super great.
Oh, right.
It's not live. It's just there. And that's our show for today. We're going to leave you with all those books. Check them out at the library. Come on in. They're going to be on the new bookshelves tomorrow. Come check them out. And thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button.